Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final day of the live streams here at ICON 2016. If you have no idea what you're watching, where have you been, ladies and gentlemen? 2 days of amazing con events have gone by here at the main stage, here at ICON. It's been great stuff. We've had Raymond Feist, he'll be on here later today. We've had many great things. But for now, it's the first event of the day, and as always, this stream brought to you by Always On Wi-Fi, super fast internet when and where you need it. Now, today we're going to start off with a bit of a clang, so to speak. The first event of the day is brought to you by Battle Heritage South Africa. What that is and what that entails, you're about to see now. Ladies and gentlemen, these are men with swords, suits of armor, no camera tricks, no cutaways. These guys are really swinging at each other's heads. Let me give you an idea of how it works with the following clip. What you have just witnessed is what is politely called in the industry as a moermekaar. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the representatives of Battle Heritage SA, Carl Smit and the captain, fourth in the world at Sword and Shield, and South Africa's representative at the World Championships. Please give it up for Carl Smit and Hilton Kleinhans.
Let me stand this side.
Yes. This is the coolest heraldry I've ever seen. It's like there's no denying where he's from. So, dig it. Squire, fantastic work. Congratulations, well done. I see you got a different shield today. You told me earlier you got a different shield because yesterday we did a demonstration and the shield got vaporized. So to give you an idea, these guys aren't messing around. They are actually swinging at full speed. So, this is very cool as well. This is what, your actual coat of arms?
Yeah, this is my personal heraldry.
Cool. Now, to give you an idea of, you couldn't hear the impacts when they were swinging at each other in the clip. Gentlemen, could you just give us a quick demonstration of what it sounds swinging at full speed? Want you guys around when the peddlers come. So,
Yeah.
what is Battle Heritage SA? Let's go back to the beginning. How did it start? How does it work? How did you guys start doing this?
Well, the medieval scene was quite small to start with in South Africa. What did bring our organization to being was we had a guy come over from Wales. He studied geology here at Wits. He was one of the representatives of Battle Heritage Great Britain who came this side. Now, he had a look at what we did. Like, yeah, okay, no, that's fine. But let's show you how we fight overseas. And once he showed us the absolute intensity that they fight with and the focus on historical accuracy, we just thought, you know what, this is the business. We're going to do this. And he helped us to create Battle Heritage SA.
All right, now, so just so that I'm clear on this, you had, there we go. You had, a Welsh geologist
Pretty much.
said, I happen to have this sword, and so let's show you how it's done,
Yeah.
and so swing away.
Pretty much, eh?
And how did, I just want to know, where was the connection between Welsh geologist and then did he phone you guys up and say, oh, man with sword, we must chat?
Well, he did it a lot in Wales, as well as other parts of the UK. And when he came here, he wanted to continue his hobby. We found a few local groups, thought, okay,
I see.
let's give it a swing, literally.
Quite literally, yes. Okay, cool. So explain to me, what is the difference between the way that the system overseas is done versus how you guys were doing it?
The way we were doing it is we were fighting to touch, basically. The first solid blow, that would have counted as a kill.
All right, so if you can demonstrate on the, well, show me what a
So
touch
just-
attack would be.
So, for example, if his defense was up and I went for his leg, there was touch, and then we'd break the fight. And then
All
we'd
right.
be best 2 out of 3.
All right.
But-
So it's a lot like actual some forms of tournament martial arts where it's
Pretty much.
limited combat, where
Yeah.
you strike, pull away,
Yes.
and you go again.
But the thing is, they were doing this in armor, which is pointless.
Well,
Now,
yeah, I mean, you've
we
got-
noticed that now,
Yeah.
after Griff came through and showed us how it's done overseas. Now we fight best 2 out of 3 rounds, very much scored the way boxing is.
Okay, cool.
So, for example, if he lands 22 solid blows on me and I only land 19, he wins the round.
All right, so what was, how did you qualify? What was the lead up to this? Because, I mean, the captain
Yes.
represented South Africa. What was the lead up to this? How did you qualify to go through to represent South Africa?
What we do every year is we have a national tournament. All the guys with the correct armor, the correct weapons, we get together and we have a tournament amongst ourselves. Different divisions, sword and shield, long sword, pole arm. That's where we decide who's the best fighter. And like Hilton, he competed in all 3 divisions and placed very highly. So we also unanimously decided Hilton's our captain.
Right, so there is a big push towards multi-classing.
Yes. It's at the end of the day, what does happen at a lot of the overseas tournaments is you can get an award for best overall fighter. Even if you don't place in the top 10 in sword and shield or longsword, if they do notice that you're a fantastic fighter across the board,
Right.
you can still get a nod.
Right, so what are the disciplines then? You said there's sword and shield,
There's sword and shield, which is what we have on stage now.
right?
Then we have longsword. Fans of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones will
I see.
recognize the
So-
length of the blade.
Clue is in the title.
Pretty much, eh?
And obviously, long swords, are they always two-handed weapons, or?
Yes. The
always.
definition of the longswords we use is that they are two-handed weapons.
All right, so there's a blade I've seen where it literally looks like a gauntlet you wear and a blade that sticks out of it. What is that?
That is a later invention.
Oh, I see.
It came about the same time that they added flintlock pistols to shields.
Which is just cheating, actually.
Well, if you were a very rich guy, all's fair in love and war.
But I mean, so then obviously from there, the powder would have advanced, the bullets would have advanced, so they can start punching through armor.
Pretty much, yeah.
Alrighty then. So up until then, it's just the case of whoever's got the largest pointy stick and knows what they're doing wins.
Yeah, whether it's a flying pointy stick, like a spear or a bodkin arrow, which can pierce armor and chainmail, or a sword.
All right. So, right, that's the long sword. You've got
Yes.
sword and shield. And from there, you said pole arm as well, which is
Yes.
essentially long, it's essentially long stick with blade on the end of it.
Yes, either a multi-section blade with a very elaborate shape, or as simple as an axe head.
Okay, so So now, talk me through the armor that the captain's wearing. You told me earlier before we started that he's wearing pretty much the closest to accurate to the
Yes.
time of its design.
Yes.
So you've got the leather shoes on. Why was it? It's obviously there weren't trades underneath that came later.
Well, you could put steel studs underneath, but that would wear into your foot because their version of inner soles was linen padding or even hay.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. But so as I'm noticing, like what looks like if you watch stuff in movies, which I
Yes.
know is nowhere near historically accurate.
Correct.
Like stuff, the armor is bent and it's molded and it all looks extremely shiny and it's almost chromed and polished. This
Yeah.
has got panels sticking out. There are sections that are domed. Some come to spikes. Why is all of that there?
Well, especially with Hilton's armor, these are your, now the term escapes me, these are your greaves. They usually protect just the front of your legs, very similar to what mine are doing currently, but his wrap around the back, so that if he does get attacked from the side, his calf muscle is still protected. But what you'll notice a lot with the armor is that the inside of his calf, the inside of his thighs, the inside of his arms, very much like mine as well, are pretty much unprotected because that's not where you're expecting a blow to land because you are facing an enemy. So your blows will land, even on an inside strike to the knee or to the leg, it still hits the plate. Now, underneath his gambeson, which is the lovely gambeson he's wearing currently, he has a coat of plates, similar to, it's basically a leather jacket with steel plates riveted to it. It's one of the pieces of armor that eventually fades out of European war, because the period that we're focusing on is 1300 to 1400.
Right.
The 100 Years' War, particularly between the French and their allies versus the British and their allies.
Let me just fix the earpiece here. Downside
you
of
very
swinging
much.
a sword at each other, no one sees what happens to the mic.
Okay, there we go.
Right. So there's a specific period, and then as armor advances, it starts to change quite rapidly. Somebody says,
Yes.
"I dreamt up this." No, I dreamt up this.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the most effective armor survived.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah,
There's-
literally.
So it's the case of count number of guys on field. Says, well, not that many guys died. That's a good sign. Let's
Yeah.
try that again.
Exactly. And also, the richer you were, the more elaborate and more protective your armor was, the higher the quality of the material.
Excellent. So now, I mean, chainmail is always a big thing that appears in cosplay, but I
Yes.
remember you've mentioned that to me before, that
Yes.
cosplay and real warfare is not the same.
Yes.
Chainmail, what is its actual use? now?
Chainmail protects against cuts. You see it a lot of in movies like Kingdom of Heaven, which describes the Crusades, where they fight against opponents with curved blades. Curved blades are mainly meant for cutting,
Yes.
for obvious reasons. The longer you can keep that surface in contact with someone, the bigger the cut is.
All right.
Whereas later on, with European blades that are sharp on both sides, as well as having a sharp tip, chainmail became a bit obsolete.
Yeah.
Because these weapons are tools, unlike the Japanese katana, where it's more mystical, if you will,
Yes.
and it's still a cutting weapon. With our weapons, you can break bone through chainmail.
Okie dokie. But I remember learning about that in history class. Half the
Yes.
time it wasn't about cutting or damage, it was about breaking the guy's bones underneath, causing the
Yeah.
armor to bend inwards.
That is definitely a factor that's involved, because as soon as you can get your opponent on the ground,
Yeah.
and he's prone and he can't get up fast enough, you put the point in.
Fair enough. Now, I know that we've got a clip from, what is the clip we're about to see?
The clip is from our experience that we had in Malbork Castle last year in Poland. It's the biggest castle in Europe. It
Okay.
was also one of the biggest IMCF tournaments. We fielded quite a large team in all disciplines. And we didn't do badly. We made our presence felt. Hilton was there as well, doing longsword, which is his speciality, funnily enough, considering how well he did in Sword and Shield. And it's a good representation of what we want to continue as the years go on.
Fantastic. So let's cue up that clip and let's have a look at it. If you guys can talk us through what it is we're about to see here.
Sure. This is Sword and Shield. Gives you an idea of the marshal in the corner, the ring we use, which we call the lists. We have 4 marshals, 1 on each length, and then we have the head marshal in the middle who decides what to do. If something happens in the fight, if a fighter gets injured, If they use an illegal move, he stops the fight, they reset. It's similar to what boxing is. You can see some sword and shield work. You can see the difference in types of armor. This is bowhead. This is the team events. 3v3 for the ladies. For the men, it can be as high as 21v21. A nice number for a team would be 6v6.
All right, so there's a few things that I saw there.
Yes.
First of all, there was the guy covered in the fleur-de-lis with the 3, and he just literally just charges in with the long sword. And my first thought was, you frickin' bully. Because he's fighting a guy like a foot shorter than him. What is a completely illegal move?
A completely illegal move, if I can demonstrate it on Hilton here, is if you go back and around and you hit him behind the knee. If you hit him behind the knee, that can physically tear tendons.
All right.
In real battle with sharp swords, that would be a killing move.
Yeah, I mean, in real battle, there's no such thing as an illegal move. Just win.
Exactly. We do want people to come back.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We'd run out of opponents really fast.
We have this high turnover of people. Could you please come back?
Please. Another illegal move is a direct strike to the foot for obvious reasons.
Yeah, if it's not covered in any sort of plate. But even then, is it illegal, even if it's covered in armor?
I've got a set of sabatons, but I'd rather not be hit in the feet anyway.
Because obviously, as said before, an impact, the force of it still carries through.
Pretty much. You're going to feel it. You're definitely going to feel it. Another illegal move.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
Even if you're wearing one of those fancy cod pieces, you're going to know all about it.
Well, because you just rang the guy's bell. I think at that point, the fight's over.
Pretty much. He's going to cringe and you're going to get disqualified.
Yeah, so there are instant DQs in this.
Definitely. If you throw a guy over, for example, if you put your leg behind and you push him over, that's usually frowned upon.
Yeah.
But you can still get a point if you get him to fall over by himself. Or he drops his weapon.
Now, getting him to fall over by himself, I'm assuming you don't latch into the old trick of screaming and begging. I mean, what is...
Well, what that French giant was trying to do was trying to push Hilton over. But since Hilton has a background in rugby...
Oh, okay, cool.
Which
helps.
It helps, definitely.
Yesterday you described this sport as a mixture between MMA, rugby, and what else?
Well, medieval reenactment.
Okay, so medieval reenactment with a touch of mixed martial arts and rugby.
Yeah,
Throw in some armor, swords.
It's basically medieval reenactment for those who like a bit of violence.
Fantastic. So you've seen them do it on the field, and you think, my word, I love history, but I love my history with a bite to it.
Exactly.
So if you want to leave your historical reenactment feeling as though you've been pummeled by history, frickin' this is the thing.
Exactly. It's a growing sport. It's very popular overseas. It's only recently gotten to the overseas level locally, but we are working tirelessly to make sure that we can send teams overseas so that South Africa can really put the boot in on a
quite literally
on the international stage.
Other stuff that I saw in that clip, there was the dude with the big yellow stick putting it between you. He is what, the referee, the marshal?
He is the head marshal.
Okay.
He determines what's an illegal move, what is allowed, what's not. If a fighter is injured, he puts the pole between you. In general, if that pole comes down, you stop the fight.
Oh, is it bright yellow so you'll see it even in combat haze?
Yes, definitely.
Right.
It's colorful for a reason.
Now, I saw some of the guys, we did speak about pole arms, but I saw guys just using regular axes.
Well, if it's got a long haft and it falls into the required specs, because we're not allowed to just bring any weapon we like, no fantasy double-headed axes. It must fall into spec, it must match the same historical period as your armor, and it must also fall within weight and length requirements.
Cool, which leads me nicely into the next thing, which is, so if somebody's keen to join, let's look at the gear. What qualifies, starting with sword, what does a sword need to be in order to qualify for this?
It needs to be constructed similarly to what a sharpened sword needs to be constructed. You obviously have your blade. Unlike flea market or fantasy swords or wall hangers, as we like to call them, it's got a full tang running from,
let me just do that.
There we go. A full tang, which includes the blade. The tang runs underneath the grip.
Okay.
Attaches to the pommel, also has a solid crossguard, a solid handle, which is usually made of wood, and it should fall within historical spec for weight. As light as 1.2 kilograms, as heavy as 1.6. This is an example of a heavy sword.
So that's 1.6 kilos of steel.
Now, that sword that Hilton's wearing is the actual sword that he used overseas. The blue tag on there is the actual authenticity sticker
Oh, wow. Okay.
from his battle in Portugal.
So the actual medieval combat guys will authenticate your sword saying,
Yeah.
this is accurate, this is correct to spec, swing away.
Correct.
Fantastic.
Same with our kit. They look at the materials we use on our shields, the material we use on our armor. For example, my armor is based on German armor from 1350 to 1400.
Very cool.
They require sources. You have to show them this, and this is a historical example. This is a painting from the period. Do I match? Don't I? Can I
Right.
fight?
So this is not just the case of some dude with a pop rivet gun can start putting bits of metal together. You genuinely have to read up.
Pretty much. You have to read up. What also helps if you make your armor yourself.
Okay, do you know an armorer? Are you an armorer?
I'm working on the armoring part. We are thinking of starting armoring workshops because buying a suit, having someone else make it, most of the money that you pay him goes into labor
Oh, I see, of course.
because you have to hand hammer the rivets.
Ah, okay.
Hand stitch the
no,
leather.
so no machines are involved.
Well,
It's-
you can use machines if you like, as long as it does not look too historically inaccurate. For example, our gambesons, which are our padded garments underneath our armor, our surcoats, as well our medieval clothing, because if you're at these events and you're not fighting, you can't walk around in shorts and a shirt. You have to walk around in medieval clothing.
Now, one thing I did notice, the marshal that I saw, they're not wearing armor.
Yeah.
How many times has one of these guys gotten clipped?
Actually, because they're not in armor, they get to duck out the way really fast.
Fantastic.
It's a lot less like the boxing in that regard, where the boxing refs get clocked quite often.
Okay, so it's a case of clothies know when to get out of the way.
Pretty much.
Fantastic. Now, with the shield design, what can you and can't you put in it?
Well, modern designs are generally frowned upon. For example, if I had a Hello Kitty design that I wanted to put on here, or the Batman logo, some tournaments will allow it. Other tournaments with more stringent historical accuracy will go, listen, guys, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
really? Then
Fair enough.
I've seen guys fight with surcoats with SpongeBob on them, purely for fun, at events like Icon.
Okay.
But for the proper tournaments, historical accuracy is paramount. Both in construction, in what you wear, the way you conduct yourself, even your eating utensils.
So what, you're using dowel sticks and that sort of stuff?
Well, wooden spoons, wooden bowls.
All right, fair enough. Now, and finally, the armor, you said it has to be historically accurate.
Yes.
You have to prove where you got the sources from.
Yeah.
And these are the rivets you're talking about. If you can close up zoom in on one of those, these are the hand hammered rivets.
Pretty much. Stainless steel, preferable.
Okay.
Doesn't rust as easily.
So the materials you use, what sort of stuff is going in there?
What you can use is mild steel, which bends a lot easier. For example, my gauntlets, you can see, bend easy. They rust quite easily as well, whereas stainless lasts longer.
Okay.
You can even do, some of the Russians use titanium.
And then the armor is unbelievably light, and it feels like you're
Unbe-
not wearing it.
At least a fifth lighter than what we're wearing. But we
Okay.
like the more historical angle.
And titanium costs a fairly
truckload.
large chunk.
Well,
Yeah.
and not really in Russia because they have all the smelting plants there.
Ah, see, location, location, location.
Indeed.
Now, I remember as we were speaking earlier, the swords themselves,
Yes,
there's a thing about flexibility with swords.
definitely.
Please just give them an idea.
For example, this sword is 5 mil thick. This is a good training sword, but that's about it. It won't pass muster at an event. But even that, it still has some bend. Hilton's sword, which is 3 mil, bends a lot, but it snaps back because it's hardened and it's tempered.
And the reason for the flexibility is,
A blade that's too stiff is going to snap.
and
So
then
if you
you're
look
done.
at movies like Lord of the Rings, shows like Game of Thrones, those blades are fantastically stiff. It's because they're not really fighting.
Yeah.
Whereas the one sword that I broke yesterday in
Yes.
one of our fights off stage, it was still flexible, but the material wasn't great. To make it light, they, especially for the movie swords, so they use inferior steel. Some of them even use aluminium. So they can do all the fancy flourishes, you know, the stuff that will get you killed in real life.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what would be the difference between what you see in a movie and versus what the actual combat was?
Well, you can think of it in the terms of old kung fu movies.
Yes.
all the fancy flourishes, the spinning, the rolls. Yeah, as soon as you show me a gap, I'm going to put something in there.
Fair enough, because that's always the question I've wanted to ask, because there's a lot of this, but when you spar with a friend, without fail,
Yeah.
the second they get the chance, somebody goes, eh.
Pretty much. For example, what you see a lot in the movies is they strike directly to the blade and, oh, sparks. It looks so fantastic. The only time we actually strike our blades together is when we try and block the other blade.
So it's basically for parrying, it's for blocking.
Yeah, you can parry. It's a blocking weapon as well.
All right.
Now, what you'll also see a lot is they don't aim for the body, only for the close-up where they cut through the neck, or a dude in heavy armor just gets a cut across the chest and suddenly flies across the room. Yeah, no.
Now,
Doesn't happen.
Depending on the armor you're wearing, what is your position? I mean, you did mention multi-classing is a thing.
Yes.
That the guys have to multi-class.
Yeah.
But now, when you do these 21-on-21 battles you were talking about, there's also the 3-on-3s and the rest of it.
Yes.
What strategy is employed there? Is it just a case of pick someone and swing away?
That does help, but teamwork helps even more. If you and your friend can identify a potential weak target before the bell rings, it's like, that guy, he looks nervous. Rush him. One guy can pin him up against the lists, and the other guy can just wail away at him. Legs, head, kicks, headbutts, punches. The thing with the team events is there's a lot less rules. It's basically just don't hit in the groin.
So just so that I'm clear on this, if there's 21 of you fighting another, if there's 42 of you on the field,
Yeah.
then the rules, they tend to go, you know what, guys, just no hitting it below the belt, but otherwise, gooi.
Yeah, mistakes do happen.
Okay.
Guys have been taken off the field on stretchers. It
Well, I
does
mean,
happen.
yeah, accidents will happen when there's
Yeah.
42 of you.
Yeah.
And you said the women fight in this as well. There's no,
Yeah.
so this is all gender inclusive. We really don't care.
The women don't join us in the male bowhurts because we'll wreck them. But they
Fair
do
enough.
have their own divisions of bowhurt, which has now recently been recognized, especially 3v3, because there's not as many women involved in what we do,
Okay.
but the number is increasing. Our female captain is here today as well, if the ladies want to come and have a word with
And
her.
that'll be,
It's a lot of fun. If the boss really gets on your nerves, if the boyfriend gets on your nerves, come and work out some of that aggression with us.
and that's
and
over there
show
at the
him what you're capable of.
medieval fighting ring.
Right in the corner at the back there.
Okay. Fantastic.
If you're not sure about where to find us, we're just on the other side of the wargaming tables and very close to the VIP lounge.
Just follow the sounds of heavy impacts and swords.
Yeah.
It's impossible to miss. You'll hear,
Yeah.
every now and again, you'll hear this, "Pa!"
Yeah.
And everybody will look, some people follow breadcrumbs, follow the sound of the carnage.
Pretty much.
Okay, so you've got the team sport. Just now, I saw some of the stuff that guys were doing. There's headbutts going on. Guys are hitting each other with shields.
Yes.
So it's just, show me what would be considered just normal attack strikes in slow motion, obviously.
A normal attack strike, if Hilton can demonstrate on my body, for example, if I'm blocking like this, a point scoring strike to wherever on the body,
Okay.
except in illegal areas, a solid strike is what constitutes a point.
Alright.
Let me show on that angle on Hilton. If I hit him on the shoulder and my blade glances off onto his helm, that doesn't count as a proper strike at all.
Alright.
Because it's not solid. It's not sharp of the blade onto his armor, onto his helm. Those are techniques that will garner you points.
All right. Now, I've seen that your helmet is different to his.
Yes.
Let's just have a look-see here. Did not expect it to be that heavy when I lifted it up.
You develop a strong neck after a while.
Yeah, so this thing weighs what? 2 kilos?
No.
4?
Up to 6 kilos. Some
Up to
guys,
6.
Some historical examples go as high as 8 or 9.
So now you've got the leather strap that holds it in place closed, plus you've got hinging over here.
Yes, the strap is specifically so that my visor can't be lifted by someone else.
Right. Now, I don't know, we'll be able to put this on you. So this comes loose here, where?
Let's do a demo battle
All right.
at the end of the panel, and
Okay,
then I'll
cool.
put the helm on, and we can show
Now,
you what we get up
If
to.
I'm looking at the design here, I mean, the captain's got this, for lack of a better term, a disc on the
Yes.
back of his neck. That's to stop what? Impact strike on the back.
Yes,
glance
even
off.
though those blows are frowned upon, it does happen that a blow does land on your neck, and it can hurt. Even
Yeah.
through all that armor, you can create whiplash for the guy. That rondel is there to make sure that if he does get hit there, whether it's in bowhurt where it's a lot less frowned upon than in 1v1 duels, it works out that he won't get hurt. He'll know it's there, but it won't hurt him. Whereas
Now-
with my helm, the back of the neck is much longer, as it is a different design, but from the same period in a different country.
Okay.
So the back of my neck is pretty protected in this anyway.
So the armor when you design armor, does it have to all come from the same country, or can you pick and choose which design you're going to use?
A 50-year period,
But you can go
leeway,
from country to country.
but it needs to be a specific country. Some
Oh,
guys fight
fantastic.
in German Gothic armor from a later century. Some guys fight in British tournament armor from, I think, 100 years from when we fight. Some guys fight in replicas of Henry VIII's armor.
Okay. Now, with all of this armor,
Yes.
I noticed that, I mean, this has got battering marks on it. It's been hit. There's scoring and all sorts of marks here. What is your field of vision on these helmets? When you've got the captain's helmet has got individual marks all the way around. Yours
Yeah.
has got these 4 slots the way
Yes.
around. What, in your opinion, is better for visibility?
That's up to the fighter. I prefer that because the sloping front protects my neck, whereas Hilton has a lot more mobility with his head, so he can look around a lot better. Whereas my focus is one day to fight in team events. My goal is to be a tank, to run forward, keep
Right.
guys occupied so that Hilton can come from behind as he's faster and more maneuverable and take the guy down.
Right. So I've noticed that then these two are pretty much the same sort of armor.
Pretty much. They're very similar because that time and period in European history, people were moving away from chainmail and into full plate. This is a composite of lamella armor, separate plates. It's not full chunky pieces of metal.
Okay.
It allows mobility. You still have protection, but it's also a bit lighter.
Now, when you're tanking, is this what you'll wear, or is there something else?
You are allowed to wear armor underneath your actual soft kit, which is not historically accurate. Some guys wear motocross spine protectors, hinged knee braces underneath, ankle braces. Some guys wear scrum jackets, scrum caps in their helm. As long as you are 100% historically accurate outwardly in
Yes.
these events, you can get away with a lot to make sure that you don't get injured.
Yeah, because I mean, what would you wear for yourself if you had to put stuff underneath your armor? What will you be wearing when
I
you're
would
on,
like to
on
wear
the
a
field?
motocross jacket, spine protector.
Yeah.
I would like to get a proper gorget done, which is a metal plate covering the throat and the back of the neck.
So it's not this.
That's a chain curtain. It helps. You can put plates underneath it.
Okay.
Yet again, it's up to the fighter with what he feels comfortable with. It does increase the weight. So if you feel the need that to be a bit lighter around your head, if you can get away with inauthentic armor underneath, more than welcome to.
All right. Now we did mention shield design. I said that this is a different design from yesterday.
Yes.
This has been constructed of what? This is a heavier shield, you said.
This is usually made with plywood, 3-layer plywood, usually
right.
3 sheets in itself. The lighter we can make it, the better.
All right.
Whereas my shield is quite heavy as it's made from thicker material. I did that on purpose so that I can get used to a heavier weight, so that if I move to a lighter shield, I can use it better, use it faster, protect myself better.
Right. Now, what happens during the course of combat if you lose your sword? If you're doing sword and shield and your sword is knocked from your hand, is that over?
No, you're allowed to pick up your weapon again, but you concede a point.
Oh, okay.
In sword and shield, you gain points for proper strikes, making your opponent lose his weapon, or making your opponent lose his footing.
Now, how long do these fights last?
A standard fight will be about 1 minute,
All right.
then with a 1 minute break, and then another 1 minute. And if either fighter wins either round, it goes into a third round.
So it's best 2 out of 3.
Usually, but if it's a very close fight in the second round, in the international competition, the one fight went to 8 rounds.
Now, when the two of you are fighting, I mean,
Yes.
the captain does not speak for he's the captain, and that is what he does. How long does that 1 minute feel?
Forever. People often say, oh, but you only fight for a minute. Yeah, no, okay. Put on 40 kilograms of armor, swing a 1.6 kilo sword with armor on your arms, in gauntlets, with a 2.5 kilo to as high as 4 kilo shield. You feel it. You feel it.
So, in order to survive in these combats, what do you actually need? What is genuinely required before you put on the armor, before you put on the sword, before you even start swinging something?
Bloodlust. No, I'm kidding.
Bloodlust. Okay.
If you like
That
it-
helps.
If you have had an interest in swords from when you were a young age, like both of us have, we've been gamers for a long time. We read a lot of fantasy books. I've read Lord of the Rings probably 6 times. I've watched the movies. I stopped counting at 10. And after a while, you think, well, where can I find these places? This is a sport I get into. I tried rugby. Yeah, no, it's cool. I can't catch a ball, but I can push in a scrum. Okay, happy days.
Okay.
But the second I found a place that does medieval combat, I was hooked.
Right, so a definite interest,
Yeah.
touch of a bloodlust helps, a want
Interest
to
is the
carry
main
the
thing.
gear. Interest is, of course.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to physical conditioning, what is more important? Strength, fitness, endurance, what?
Endurance is the most recommended. But because you're wearing a lot of armor, strength is definitely required.
So you're training for strength, you're training for endurance. Now, on the endurance side of it, what actually decides, when it comes to conditioning, what decides a fight?
Well, stamina.
Just
Stamina as well as
going.
technique. The less points you can concede whilst fighting for an extended period of time, the better. Whilst landing blows on your opponent.
So, do you, when guys first start out,
Yeah.
I'm assuming one of the first mistakes that are made is guys who just charge in.
Yeah, we see that a lot. Also, guys try the fancy moves from their video games. And look, I did it as well when
Yeah.
I started. Let's not beat around the bush. But what happens is after a while, they start noticing, oh, well, wow, that didn't work. So they start adjusting the way they fight. They start aiming for the legs. They start aiming for the helm. But no flourishes, no spinning around, no opening up your weak spots where you can concede points, or if you fought with sharps, your life. People tend to pick it up as they go. And that's what we want people to come and do. Come on through. We're a friendly bunch. We'll chuck you in armor. We don't mind lending you armor. We've got soft kit for you to put on. Ladies are welcome, old, young, everyone. Even if you just want to learn how to swing a sword and you don't want to fight in armor, come on through. We're a friendly bunch, really.
Now, so when it comes to this sort of a combat, if somebody comes through on their first day,
Yes.
and the first thing is to figure out what they want to do, and
Well,
or what
what
they
we
want to go
recommend
for.
is try everything first.
Yeah.
The weapons you feel most comfortable with, go for it. For example, I started with longsword. I noticed, yeah, okay, it's fun, but I far prefer sword and shield now.
All right.
So your fighting does evolve the longer you do it.
Okay.
So it's best to try and be an all-round fighter as you start. Every chance you get to fight with separate weapons and against a different fighter than usual, do it.
Now, how many clubs are there at the moment in South Africa that do this sort of thing?
It comes and goes, but it's usually about 3 or 4. But people that do what we do, we focus on the international aspect.
Right.
So if you come and train with us in Midrand or in Alberton over the weekends, it's for international fighting. You are
Okay.
there as a member of the hosting club, as well as potential member of of Battle Heritage, the national representative organization for our sport overseas.
Right.
But there's places in Durban. We're working on getting Cape Town sorted, but Gauteng is where it's at currently.
Now, when they arrive, you said you've got extra bits of armor that
Yeah.
that people can try on, feel the weight, feel what it's like to use this stuff.
And they can do it today. We're doing Fight Tonight at the back there. We'll chuck in some chainmail, put you in a helm, give you a glove, give you a steel sword, and then you can come and hit us. We're not really allowed to hit back, but if you want to feel, we'll tap you on the helm so you can hear what it feels like. And once the bug bites, we better see you come back.
'Cause, I mean, but that's the thing, though. I mean, it's the initial shock. The shocks people will encounter is
Yeah.
the sound of a sword makes when you're actually holding a shield and the sword hits.
Yeah.
When you're wearing a helmet, I would assume, and the blade glances off it or hits.
You mentioned ringing a bell earlier.
Yeah.
Now imagine you've got a steel helm on
Ah,
and you get paneled. But we'll show you. Hilton and I will have a bit of a fight later.
yes.
And
No.
you'll see what we can get up to with each other when we're in full armor and we are, for lack of a better term, in beast mode.
All right. Yes, because I remember when you guys did the demonstration yesterday, you just went at each other.
Yeah.
And
But
it was
at
a
the end
case
of
of,
the day-
oh, are we done?
It's not just wailing away at each other. We try and avoid double hits where we hit each other at the same time. It's trying to maneuver in such a way that if he strikes at me, he doesn't score a point, but if he leaves a gap, I can then score a point on him.
Now, I forgot to ask about the gauntlets. The gauntlets themselves, yours is a very different design.
Yes, his
now,
is what's called clamshell gauntlets. These are very handy in what we do, especially because blows to the hand do happen. If you compare it against mine, you can see some of the plates are actually missing from this hand.
move a bit closer.
You can see the difference
go.
there. Mine are called fingered gauntlets for obvious reasons. But you can see that the plates do come off, whereas these are a lot more durable, and my next set will be one of these.
Now, during the course of it, do you have guys throwing a punch?
It does happen. You can throw a punch with either that or these. Doesn't count a point, but it does rattle the other guy's cage a bit.
Yeah, it destabilizes your opponent. With kicking blows with the knee.
With the knees, not so much because you may accidentally hit the groin.
Yeah.
But you're definitely allowed to kick. Doesn't get you a point, but it does rattle the other guy's cage a bit.
And strikes on the hand, on the knees.
They're not illegal, but they are frowned upon.
Right.
It's
So-
mainly blows to the back of the knee, the inside of the arm, where you really don't have armor. That are moves that you're really not allowed to.
So it's a case of shattering bone, shattering tendon.
Exactly.
That's it's in the course of a fight. I mean, you've said is there a battle haze that goes over? That when you're really in the freaking thick of it.
Yeah, that's why we have people on the side calling time for us.
Fair enough. Now, I don't think I actually asked this. When the team went over, how many people did you field last year?
Last year we fielded about 4 or 5 people in separate
Okay.
disciplines. This year we fielded one,
Yes.
which was Hilton, and he placed fantastically well. For next year we're hoping to send at least 5 or 6 people over.
Where did Hilton actually place?
4th in the world in Sword and Shield, behind such eminent countries such as Poland, the UK, lost by a hair against France.
It's like the World Cup all over again.
Well, people actually came to him afterwards and say, listen, I don't know if the ref is blind or something, but you should have won that. As per any sport, combat sport, football, whichever.
So the teams that we placed fourth against are guys that have been doing it for how much longer?
Well, the Poles have been doing it for about 25 to 30 years.
And we've been doing it for how long?
3.
3.
But it just shows if you have the dedication, if you train at home, for example, Hilton trains a lot because next year the Poles are going down.
Yeah.
He does a lot of strength training, a lot of stamina training. When we train against each other, if I land a few good hits on him, I'm happy. So I'm
okay.
fighting the 4th in the world here.
No, fair enough.
Yeah. But the thing is, whoever pitches up at training, if I can't make it, Hilton can't make it, some of our other guys can't make it, if the guy is a fighter in armor, he can definitely pass his skills on. Say, okay, that works, this doesn't work, definitely don't do that. Let me show you, on you, how it works. Okay, you do it on me, slowly, right, that guy's got a fencing helmet and gloves on, knock yourselves out. Not literally, but go for it.
Yeah, swing away. So let's say somebody wants to get involved in this. What is the costing involved if you wanted to get started with a beginner's sword, a starting sword?
A starting sword, a well-made sword, will cost you about 1/4. But
Okay.
it lasts you up to a decade if made well. No wall
Right.
hangers, no flea market swords. Don't pitch up with Jon Snow replica swords. We're going to break that within a minute. It has to be high carbon steel, hardened tempered, constructed in the same manner as a proper sharpened sword is to be constructed. Shields you can make yourself, no problem.
All right.
Have fun with that. Pole arms you can make yourself. You may just need someone to make the axe head for you.
Okay.
Whereas with armor, if you make it yourself, it'll cost you a minimum of about 2,000 to 3,000 rand. Get someone else to make it, it can cost you as much as 20 to 25.
Because you're employing someone for their time. You said that the labor is what it costs,
Yeah.
not so much the materials.
The materials, not that expensive, but we are looking at starting armoring workshops
I see.
so that people can learn by themselves how to make armor. If your armor breaks, you can make your own replacement if and when you need it. Instead of waiting for an armorer who has a waiting list
Yes.
of sometimes months, you can get back into the fight in a week.
Now, how many armorers do you know of that are actually genuinely doing this? That this is what they do, or is
In
part
South
of what they do?
Africa, not that many. There's about 2 or 3 guys that do it in their spare time. Unfortunately, the day job does get in the way because they do have to pay the bills. which is why we are focusing on having our armor made ourselves.
Okay. So now, I have to ask, who made the captain's armor?
The captain's armor was a mix of what he made himself
Right.
and one of our other sword and shield fighters, Anton Moller, who unfortunately can't join us today.
No problem.
He assisted with the helm and the gauntlets, but the majority was made by Hilton himself.
Now, when you get dressed in this, can you do this yourself, or does somebody have to help you? I
It helps with the
I know
arms.
pages were required to dress certain knights, but that again, it's only things you've seen on either History Channel or in movies.
In that aspect, it's quite correct. You do need help to get into your armor. For example, I've got arming points underneath this set of spalders. You can see the leather there, leather strips here, which are then tied to my gambeson, the blue garment I'm wearing underneath, to make sure it doesn't shift. Underneath that is another set of leather straps to which my arms are attached. You can perhaps see up here these fine little straps there, as well as the leather inside straps to make sure that your armor doesn't slip from your arms, from your legs. You can also see underneath
nice.
there.
No, I mean, you don't see any of the
Hello, sailor.
I would pay money to see you do that on the side of the freeway.
You do get looks.
A few.
For example, when I came through on Friday, I didn't have people to help me armor up. So what I had to do is my girlfriend helped me armor up in the morning. So I go to the petrol station to fill up. And so I climb out in armor. People are just going, what? One guy comes up to me and is like, and this? So I just tell him, no, it's casual Friday. But yeah, at the end of the day, you do need help, especially with your upper torso where you can't really reach all the arming straps.
No, of course. So
Yeah.
then once you're bolted and strapped all together, it's swing away. So
Pretty
if
much.
somebody wants to join Battle Heritage, where can they go to find information?
You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/BattleHeritageSA. You can go to our website, battleheritage.co.za. You can email us, drop us a message, just come on through. Even if you just want to sit there and watch and cheer on a certain fighter, help us dress up. Bring a cold drink, bring some meat, we have a braai afterwards. If we're not talking fighting, we're talking armoring. If we're not talking armoring, we're talking history.
Fair enough.
We're history geeks at heart.
So it's history geeks that like to reach out and touch someone with something sharp. Well,
Yes.
something heavy.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to go at each other now. You need to get strapped together. I believe you have a friend who's going to get you
Yes.
the helmet on. So, folks, that's basically it. These two are going to demonstrate for you how the fighting is done, how they get into the armor. Let's have the applause now. Folks, this is Battle Heritage SA. Give them a round of applause. Und now they will be dressed in the armor and they will swing away at each other. And yeah, there's a minimum safe distance, which is good. Don't worry, no bits fly off. It's not like any video game you've ever seen. So, okay, so the hood goes up. Whoa. Oh, it's just this sword falling off, don't worry.
Durable.
Swords are durable, luckily enough. Okay, so that goes on and over. Did you ever feel the need to wear this while you're riding a motorcycle? It'd be brilliant just to see cruising down the street.
We'd love to. We'd
You'd rather
love
that?
to. Although the accidents we may cause from people rubbernecking. Yeah, no.
No, rubbernecking could be a problem, yes.
Yeah.
So now your squire, because he's older than a page, squire strapping you in.
In retirement. It's okay.
A knight in retirement.
Yeah.
So he's a lord.
A lord, my
But
mistake,
he's,
sir.
he's a good friend.
A lord and a good friend. So he gets
And
swords
a
on.
gentleman.
So,
Right. No, not this one. I'm
Oh, yeah,
using shield.
using.
so you're going to do a demonstration of sword and shield now.
Yes.
Right, so sword and shield for 1 minute. I'm going to get to a minimum safe distance.
You got it, eh?
That's recommended.
Yes. And have at thee. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute combat. The captain, South Africa's representative at the IMCF, and Carl, his sparring partner. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Battlefield Heritage. Give them some noise. time. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Right, so that has been our first panel here at Icon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be cruising along with many more. We're going to show you how to create a podcast. Raymond Feist is going to be here talking about speculative fiction as well. We'll also be having the cosplay finals at the end of the day. Folks, this is Icon. Get on down, get a day pass. This is the last day, and then you'll have to wait a year. Pull in Gallagher Estate. As always, this streaming feed, as well as all the others you'll see today, brought to you with the help of Always On Wi-Fi, super fast Wi-Fi, wherever and whenever you need it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll see you in about 10-15 minutes for the next session. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for watching. If you really enjoyed this, please click the like button down below. And if you want all the latest happenings in South African geek culture, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, GeekXP's YouTube channel. The button is just below. Do us a favor. You know you really want to.